Minasan, konnichiwa. So today we're going to have a look at Yoshiko Kawashima, the princess spy of Matsumoto. She was operating during the Manchurian campaign in the Second World War and led a very interesting life, although it was brought tragically short, as a lot of spies historically are. Let's have a brief look at the life and times of this interesting espionage agent. Known for most of her life as Yoshiko Kawashima, she was born as Ai Xinzan Yao, the 14th daughter of a prince of the Qing dynasty on the 24th of May 1907 in China. Her mother was the 4th concubine of the prince being 10th in line of the emperor to the Qing dynasty. However, following a revolution in China in 1912, she was given up for adoption in 1915 to Naniwa Kawashima, a Japanese mercenary and spy who was a personal friend of the prince. In 1922, she moved to the Japanese city of Matsumoto, where she spent her formative years. Attending an all-boys school, she used to ride her horse to school and back every day, and also took part in other activities typically seen as the preserve of men, such as judo and fencing. At around this time, her father, the prince, passed away, and as was tradition at the time, her concubine mother committed suicide as well. But in 1927, following an arranged marriage to the son of a Mongolian army general, she left Japan to take up a courtly position in Inner Mongolia. The marriage wasn't to last, however, and after 3 years she left Mongolia to live a more carefree lifestyle in both Shanghai and later Tokyo. During this time, the charismatic and wealthy Yoshiko Kawashima took up with a series of male and female lovers before becoming involved with Yukichi Tanaka, a Japanese intelligence officer. Tanaka used Kawashima's contacts and influence to expand his own intelligence network, thereby introducing her to the world of espionage. At that time, Japan was actively looking to expand its influence and territory in the region, and Tanaka was instrumental in building a clear intelligence picture for the Japanese military and also building anti-Chinese sentiment. During this period, Kawashima often took part in espionage work, sometimes dressing up as a man so that she could infiltrate markets and guerrilla groups. Other times, she would use her charm and connections to access the higher echelons of society, all the while sowing anti-Chinese sentiment and reporting back to the Japanese intelligence groups. It was also during this time that Puyi was installed as the emperor of the puppet state Manchukuo. Puyi was a member of the Qing dynasty and a cousin of Kawashima. This meant that through her activities, she was strengthening the position of her one-time family and also expanding Japan's dominance in the northeastern China region. She went on to establish her own brigade of cavalry of around 3,000 personnel loyal to the Manchukuo cause. These riders were able to create anti-Chinese sentiment as well as engage in active warfare in the region, much like the famous irregular forces of World War II such as the French Maquis or Soviet partisans. However, during her espionage activities, she was also becoming something of a celebrity, regularly appearing in newspaper articles and radio broadcasts. Her high society connections and striking appearance turned her into a desirable woman, which on one hand was very useful for creating and exploiting her network. On the other hand, it created a massive amount of risk for her. Eventually, this meant she had to give up on her spying activities and had to concentrate on a more propaganda-oriented line of work. She was also becoming unwell. Her lifestyle had led to sexually transmitted infections as well as a drug addiction. Her usefulness as a spy was coming to an end. The war by this stage was not going well for Japan either. The ill-equipped Manchukuo forces were in no way prepared to counter a Soviet offensive should one occur, and Japan's best troops had been sent to the Pacific, where they were fighting a losing battle against the Allies. And then, on the 11th of November 1945, it was reported that a long sought-for beauty in male costume was arrested in Beijing by counterintelligence agents. She was charged as a traitor. As her adoption was a private arrangement between two families, the princess spy could not prove she was a Japanese citizen. She was sentenced to death and shot in the head, her body put on public display. But that may have been the end for Yoshiko Kawashima. Controversy surrounds the execution for two reasons. First of all, the gunshot to the head made physical identification impossible after the execution. And secondly, the monk that infiltrated China and managed to recover the body found it to be a woman with long hair, where Kawashima always wore her hair short, so nobody knows for certain if the princess spy of Matsumoto managed to slip the net at the end of the war. Either way, the remains were sent to Matsumoto, where she was cremated, and her ashes interred in the city that she grew up in. I hope you enjoyed this video about Yoshiko Kawashima, the princess spy of Matsumoto. Although one of the lesser known voices of the past, the story is nonetheless very interesting. The city of Matsumoto is rich with history, so make sure you visit one day, and if you do, be sure to check out the samurai shooting team based in Matsumoto at gunsamurai.com.